Hey guys, I'm at Rose Creek Farm in Selmer, Tennessee, and I've been at this farm many times. I've been teaching here for 2 years now. This is the third year here, and I've got a crazy story to share with you guys. This farm has had biblical level floods this year. I'm not kidding, like, been crazy. Last 2 years before this year, they had some flooding events that caused them a bit of damage. But this year was unbelievable, the amount of crop damage they've had. Ray says he had about $30,000 of crop damage this year as a result of the floods. And this video, I'm gonna go around with Ray and we're gonna explain to you guys all the things they did on the farm this year to modify the land. So they did quite a lot of earthworks here to modify the land to basically get that water away from the farm. Now they're set up where they're fine. And the last 2 days have been pretty heavy rain here as well. I haven't been able to come out and shoot at all until like this very moment. We got a little break in the rain, so I've come out to make this video, and hopefully it doesn't rain throughout the video. But we're gonna go around the farm and kind of show you guys all the things that they've done here at Rose Creek to make sure that this doesn't happen again. So hopefully this could save some of you thousands of dollars in potential crop loss. Okay, Ray, let's talk about this summer. It was crazy.
Pretty insane.
And you guys had to do some serious modifications to this farm, which we're gonna talk about on things that happened. But tell us about like what happened this summer. This started in July or something, right?
It actually started, I would say, in February, where February tends to be a little bit drier, and so it's dry enough and we get a warm spell where we get crops in the field. And then of course, you know, we have multiple frost. But yeah, the first week of February, it just started raining and like never stopped until probably June, where we had like a week or two of finally dry weather. It was just insane.
And then it came back for reprise in July.
It just hammered us like 2 weeks. Like it would rain for like, you know, 3 or 4 inches in a few hours. We'd have a day or two of clear weather, rain again, and we just flooded so many. It was just insane.
Unbelievable.
It moved so much dirt around, like our whole farm drainage completely changed in a matter of 3 to 4 months.
Oh man.
It was just insane.
Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about like what's around us. So the thing that's interesting to point out about the site we're at is that we are actually at the bottom of Rose Creek Village, right? So water's naturally going to come down here.
That's right.
But also, just over here, there's a huge cut block.
Yes. So on just right in front of us, there's a 180-acre timber forest here that they clear cutted a few years ago.
And they've replanted it since, haven't they?
They have. But so previously it was like these 3 kind of like hill ranges that came down, and that runoff goes through a valley.
It all goes through here. It all
goes down. Well, before, you know, a lot of the trees that were there, all those roots absorbed a lot of that water, and so, you know, we would get some runoff, but it wasn't anything crazy.
This is an interesting thing that a lot of people take for granted, is actually the impact, the environmental impact that a clear cut has, is because,
it's huge.
Like you just said,
it's huge.
A tree canopy with all those roots can absorb a ton of rain. When that was a forest, it was probably never an issue.
It was,
but since it was clear cut,
boom,
all that soil moves that water.
And
that all funnels through here.
And you know, we went through a number of years where you know, we always get a good bit of rain in our area, but the last, you know, kind of started last year, we were getting a lot more heavy rain in a short amount of time. And then this year it was too much.
Jeez.
And so yeah, once that happened, and once, you know, last year we had one big flooding, and we kind of knew, you know what, we may have to make some changes. And then this February, March, April, and then June, you know, we went, okay, we have to do something.
Well, because this, I mean, I had seen it happen here for the last couple of years, here and there. But this year, the crop damage was significant. Have you actually figured out how much crop loss you had this year economically?
I think,
like what that would have been around?
We're probably looking at 40,000. Yeah, it's big.
And so we're gonna go and talk about the repairs and stuff, but what did those cost you, those repairs?
Oh, those, I think,
to do all that earthworks and stuff like that.
Not counting my time and micromanaging these guys, I would say around 15,000.
Okay, so I mean, 15,000, In the grand scheme of things, it's nothing compared to the crop loss that you had.
The biggest issue, so yeah, it's not the money, it's the time.
Yeah.
Because we still maintain full production.
Yeah.
Through this time, like, managing all that.
Yeah.
And we have other projects going on, and baby on the way, and so that managing the time to get that happen, like when to do it. That was the challenge.
Wow.
It's never a good time to do these kind of things.
No, it's not, but it's got to be done because you're going to lose the whole farm if you don't.
That's right.
So let's just talk about one of the problems that you were having was that it's starting to rain now. Hopefully we have a window of time that we can shoot this video in. Is these lower field blocks we're getting, this whole one here, block 2, field 2, right?
Yep.
Completely flooded out.
Not the whole thing, but the bottom part of it. The lower section.
Yeah.
Well, what happened in field 2
look at the camera.
Is that so much water hit it, and it completely changed the way those fields drained.
Yeah.
And it moved so much mud and dirt around that it just didn't drain. And so basically those fields no longer drain, and they would just stand underwater.
Just sit there.
Plants don't grow underwater.
No, they don't.
They just don't.
And also, the blockage point was that culvert wasn't enough. It wasn't draining enough, so it was building up there, and then it was essentially flooding. So is it the second last field block that was basically sitting underwater?
Field 5.
Field 5 was completely sitting underwater because that was a pool.
Just a big swimming pool.
And so, but it's neat what you did to fix it. You had to basically bring in dirt and mound that up 2 feet, was it?
It was almost 2 feet.
And then you rebuild all the beds, compost, everything.
Yep.
Man.
It was intense.
Yeah.
And it was like in the middle of, I wish I'd done that, when I first started. Jeez. A lot easier. And so what happened is, we had 4 cat tunnels set up in that area.
Yeah.
Production, and then we had to take it all down, take those fields, so it completely messed up our whole kind of farm plan.
Yeah.
We had to, like, in the middle of our season, just regroup and go, look, if we don't do this now, there's just no way that it's going to work.
And okay, so speaking about the cat tunnels too, they're good in the rain in the sense that they can keep some crops dry, but you had a big problem with caterpillar tunnels because you've got one bed of space between each caterpillar tunnel.
That's right.
And water was pouring through and flooding out that middle bed, but also the beds on the side of the cat tunnel.
Right.
So what did you have to do to fix that?
So what we did is on the sides of the cat tunnel, we actually just ran a tiller to loosen up that soil and just took that loose soil and scooped them onto the beds in the cat tunnel and raised them up.
So you essentially created a channel between each cat tunnel so that rain can shed through and continue to flow eventually down out to your main drainage point.
Yep. You have to.
Yeah.
And the cat tunnels are great because, like, this spring, we had 10 cat tunnels up, plus our big high tunnel. There's no way we would have survived this spring.
Without that.
Because we couldn't plant outside for like 2 or 3 months.
Well, and it's interesting because even when we were here last year, we didn't have all these cat tunnels up. There was no point.
No,
But these cat tunnels are serving a purpose to shed rain. This isn't, you're not worried about frost.
No,
we're not worried about cold weather. We worry about getting rain off the field.
Because, as you know, like in a farm, you have to have production every single week.
That's right,
And, if all it takes is missing a week of planting, it just completely throws the whole thing off.
Wow. Okay, so let's go take a tour of the field and talk about some of these things we implemented.
Yes.
Okay.
I can just talk kind of what we've done, like what the problem was, and then you can splice it however you want to.
Yep.
Just let me know when you're ready.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. So the way this is set up is, we do have a natural swell right there, so that catches all the water that comes from this hill, goes off this way.
Okay.
There's not a lot of water that comes from this slope, but there is some. And so what we've done here is, because before, again, like when you're getting 4 or 5 inches in a couple hours, that's a lot of water coming off tunnels and even from the side. So we dug a pretty big trench here and then backfilled it with really coarse wood chips. Because those wood chips, I mean, you could almost put a fire hose here and it's gonna absorb a lot of water really quickly. And that's what we need to do. We need to absorb water as fast as possible, so that way it doesn't overflow and get into our beds.
Yeah.
So that really helped here. And then what we had to do here on all of our cat tunnels is that, what we were trying to do is maximize every bed that we could. So even the beds on the sides, but the issue you have is in our climate where we get a lot of heavy rainfall, is it just floods, right? And then it floods this side of the bed to where it's always underwater.
Yeah.
Especially when you're just getting days and days and days of rain. So having this dug out really helps with everything draining. And the same thing with like this plot right here. This whole plot had a hard time draining because there's just nowhere for the water to go. So by putting in this bed of wood chips, having a channel here, and we'll probably actually come back here and add wood chips in this alley to help absorb even more water.
Yeah.
All right, so what we did, again, like most of this here, you can kind of see where the original level, but it just went here and it was basically almost flat all the way across.
So you excavated like up to 2 feet or so.
So
here.
what we had to do is we really had to remove a lot of the swell to hold more water. And so we started here. We actually had our tool shed up there because we kind of wanted it close to our produce shed, but we really needed to get this grade, and so we moved our tool shed where it's more centralized in the farm. And then we're able to come through here and really grade this whole area out. Then we also had this main power line that basically powered the whole farm. We moved that, got underground power, and ran power to all of our tunnels and produce sheds. And that was a pretty big project as well. Another thing we had to do too is because it shifted so much dirt that this alleyway was level and even a little bit higher, and so we could not get enough water off of the fields, and so it just so much water just was stagnant. So we dug this out about 1 foot deep and then backfilled it with these really coarse wood chips. Last year we used basically like coarser sawdust, and it just didn't percolate water. So this here really does really well. And it's about 8 to 10 inches thick of wood chips or so, a little bit thinner in other areas. And that has really helped with the water, getting the water off the beds without creating a really muddy alleyway. Because there's nothing worse than like walking through here with golf carts and tools in the mud.
The worst.
There's just so much mud this year.
And you can actually see the blocks are all, because you've carved that out, you've essentially, in a way, lifted your blocks up.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
Inadvertently.
Exactly. Yep, that's right. That's right. So it really helped getting water off of our beds, a place for the water to get off the tunnels and go in, and then go out into our big alleyway.
Yeah.
So it's all about getting water off your fields as fast as possible.
Yeah, and so you haven't done these ones yet, but
yet.
I think we have a slight slope coming here, correct?
Yep.
Yeah, so once you carve that out, water, when it rains, it's going to come down in here, and it's going to shuttle down in here.
Yep. Yeah, we have really heavy clay soil, and so just water doesn't drain.
And so you can like we've had, decent amount of rain. You can see it building up in here. Now, what's this, Ray?
This is our main water line, which we're going to move. But this is our main water line for.
Oh, geez, look at that. Okay, it's getting filled with mud. For
the year, yeah. And so the previous guy who managed this property made the main line in this ditch, which made no sense.
Not at all.
It's insane. So another project we had to do, because all of our lines ran off of here, so we ran irrigation that way, and then we have hydrants on the corner of every block on the north side.
Right.
So it keeps it away from this ditch. And that was a huge improvement to just getting water on fields.
Yeah, yeah. So we're going through. You've carved all this out.
Because all of this was almost level.
It was almost level. I remember that last year.
It was almost level. So water, there's no place for the water to really flow or even pool up at all. Yeah. And it's like, whenever we do get a rain, water's not in this ditch long. Like a couple hours, and it's off. So it's just, it needs to be deep enough and clear enough for water to come through. Yeah. So now you can actually see the slope into there, and then all this coming back. Yep. And we'll actually put more wood chips on here to level it with the edges of these fields. So yeah, the way he graded this, he was supposed to grade it more flat and more cleaner, and it wasn't graded as precise as I wanted to. Right. Yeah. There's a slight bulge to the whole thing, like this. Me nuts. Yeah, just for the.
Yeah, because when it's really hot and dry, your edges might dry out quick. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we'll probably have to adjust some of the stuff next summer, but at least it's not going to flood.
It looked like at this point everything's going to shed really well.
Yes.
Yeah, and so, you can see it as it's been rainy today.
That's right. That's right. And where we're set up now is that we could put really big high tunnels here, and we're not going to be worried at all for flooding in those tunnels.
Yeah.
There's nothing worse than spending a lot of money in a high tunnel and then it flood. You know, like you have to do this first.
Yeah.
Have to.
Yeah.
Have to. A lot of things.
Yeah, so you dug this out too. So this was sort of level last year, wasn't it?
Yeah. And you know, it happened too late where we weren't able to get enough grass here planted in time. And we got a goalie washer about 2 weeks ago, and it's just completely eroded right in through here. And even we still had some erosion here. But where we got grass really established, it did great.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's when you do these kind of things, you've got to irrigate the grass just like you would do crops.
Right.
You have to get that grass up as soon as possible.
Yeah.
But yeah,
so this was a big pool last year.
Oh yeah.
This whole thing going into the culvert.
Well, and what it was is that all this, I mean, I can kind of show you where that. I mean, it basically went from where this height of the road all the way across. Wow. There was no ditch, it was just level. Wow. And then there was a little canyon like right through here, and then went up to right here. So there was no bowl here. So there's just no room for water to pool and then go out. And
so this was maxed out. It wasn't taking enough to feed through over here.
That's right. And then these culverts were literally like that big.
Oh, geez.
And so all it would take is, you know, some kid's toy, get clogged in there, or a stick, and then just back up.
Oh, what a nightmare.
It was just a mess.
What a nightmare.
But you know, and then one thing too is that because this is all bare dirt, this kept getting washed out, and the whole road would just completely blow away.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it happened a few times several years ago. So what we did is we put this riffraff here really thick and really deep to where we could have a pounding river and it would not erode this part of the road. So yeah, I mean it's a lot, but if you're going to be farming in a valley, you have to do this. Yeah. You know, so it's super important to understand how water flows on your farm.
Yeah.
You know, again, like if you're in really heavy sand, you probably don't have to do this extent of the work. But if you're heavy clay and water doesn't drain.
I think a big lesson too is your surroundings. Like that cut block is a big part of this.
Totally.
And it's probably something that you never really even factored in, because you want to develop a farm, you're just looking around at the land. You're looking at the farm. You're not thinking about what's going on your neighbor's farm and even what's behind the tree line.
That's right.
And there's a big lesson in there in observing what's actually beyond what you can physically see.
Or even asking more questions about or asking more questions to people who have been around that area longer than you have, and ask them, hey, when was the last time you seen this area flood? Have you seen the flood?
Wow.
If you did, can you remember, you know, how far did it go up?
Wow.
So those are things that I didn't think to, you know, even ask or think about.
Wow. So I mean, going forward, it should be good.
I mean,
but it's been kind of escalating over the past 3 years. I saw it happen 3 years ago, and then last year, and then this year was the worst.
Hammered.
Wow.
I mean, it just flooded. Like you could, you know, I've got pictures and videos of where that whole field 5 was completely almost underwater, where water was flowing through the middle of our cat tunnels. I mean, it was just a mess.
Wow.
And all those, you know, you spent all that time planting, seeding, cultivating those crops, and within either a week or two before harvest, and to see it just completely washed away it's sickening for any farmer. But I'm really glad that happened, because it just impressed me how important it is that everything has got to be high enough where it's not going to get flooded.
High and dry.
And you know, things happen.
Yeah.
Like, doesn't matter, you know, it's possible we could get a 100-year flood, and even this may flood.
Yeah.
But I would have to say we got 7 days straight rain 3 weeks ago, and it just flowed like there was no backup at all.
Peace of mind.
It was beautiful to see all the work and money really worked for us.
So you didn't have to put any French drains or anything like that, and it's all just how you landscaped the ground to divert water.
Yes. Yeah. And one thing we too, while we were doing this, is because this was like this really narrow ditch that we had a line trim, and we wanted to do it in a way where we could mow it with a riding mower. So when we really tried to form it with a contour of the land to make it where it's easy to maintain.
Yeah.
A lot of times people put in waterways, but it's so hard to manage properly. And this is by a farm, so you don't want to see your weeds go to seed. So, you know, anything that we did this summer, we wanted to make it where it's easy to manage. That's really important.